Hey guys, I've been doing more shorts recently, so today I decided I was going to do a forecast because we've got a little bit of busy weather coming up here. So first off, today we've got busy weather day up in the Great Lakes. We've got some damaging winds are going to be likely with the complex storms moving through, some isolated severe hail possible as well. Wind is obviously going to be the greatest threat here, but one threat that we definitely can't rule out is a couple of isolated tornadoes. That could especially be embedded circulations that could spin up in the line of storms that we are having here. It's actually a Boeing echo that's moving through, so embedded circulations are a concern. We also have a slight risk off towards Colorado, Nebraska, and Kansas. This is for wind and hail. We aren't expecting any 2-inch plus hail or hurricane force winds there, so that's good, but definitely some severe weather possible. And the marginal risk extends up in the North Dakota, Minnesota, then back into Nevada. We can expect even strong storms up into Canada and back to Nevada possible. And in southern Arizona, we're going to have the chance for a few strong to severe gusts this afternoon and evening, so look out for that. If you're living in the southeast and the central plains out there, it's going to be hot, and there's not going to be a whole lot of relief, unfortunately. So definitely keep hydrated. Pretty much from the Carolinas down to Florida and out to Texas, Kansas, it's going to be very hot. It's going to be, heat index is going to be in the hundreds for basically everywhere. A lot of places are going to be seeing mid-90s, upper 90s. Some places will be exceeding into the hundreds for temperature, so definitely keep an eye on that. Tomorrow, so we've got a very big marginal risk, as you can see, along with the slight risk. This marginal risk is for wind and hail. But our most concerning risk is actually in the northeast. This does extend into the mid-Atlantic a little bit. In the mid-Atlantic, it's just for wind and isolated severe hail. But in the northeast, on the other hand, damaging winds, damaging gusts are likely, and a couple of tornadoes are also possible. Isolated hail can't be ruled out, but the main threats will be damaging winds with the threat for at least a couple tornadoes. So we'll keep an eye on that. The best threat for tornadoes would be from southern Maine into southern New Hampshire and Massachusetts. Vermont could see a shot at seeing one. I mean, even New York City is under 2% risk here. So keep an eye on that for sure if you do live in that area. And our severe weather will persist into Friday with at least damaging winds and hail possible across the Midwest and back up into the Montana area with damaging winds or hail possible. So I will be watching that for you. If we want to go into our forecast models here, as you can see, watch the desert southwest down here. You can see monsoonal activity is definitely beginning. You can see this happening pretty much daily here. We are seeing a lot of activity, especially across New Mexico even. Arizona as well. Looks like the southeast will begin to... They are in a break right now with not a whole lot of rain, but it appears some rain will begin to work into the Carolinas down to Georgia and Alabama. Florida will definitely see some rain. Definitely some storms are going to start happening across the southeast, as you can see here. It's going to be eventually we could definitely see some rain down here, and with all this moisture, definitely we can't rule out a tropical disturbance somewhere either. So keep an eye out on that. So if we're going, I'm going to show you a different model here. This is the Canadian model. So what you're seeing here is scattered storms and some rain will eventually finally return to the southeast. We hope that could persist for a bit, knowing this heat. We are going to need some rain down in these areas. It's not like we're in a huge drought right now, but it will be a good relief from the heat. And if you see out here, you can see something out there in the Atlantic. What is that, you might ask? Well, that is the Canadian and GFS both picking up on some kind of tropical storm, depression, hurricane even maybe, out there. Will this happen? We definitely don't know for sure. But what we do know is there is a disturbance off the coast of Africa that needs to be monitored. So let me find our hurricane tracker really quickly. So basically, what we're going to want to look at is the Atlantic. So Invest 95L has died off. The area of interest off the coast of the Carolinas down to Georgia and Florida is no longer expected to develop. What we do have is a wave off the coast of Africa. This wave could develop. There's not a very high chance at this moment, but there is a 30% chance of development in the next 7 days. So it's definitely greater than zero. It's a bit greater than what we have seen. Original thought was that Invest 95L might become a tropical depression or storm, but it never did. So we'll see what this one does. It will be encountering favorable warm waters, but we do have to look out for shear. And if a cold front is to work across, it will probably push us off and keep it away from the U.S. Even though it might seem to be heading that way at the moment, what seems to be happening is it will likely get pushed off if it does form. So if we look off, let's see here if I can find it. We got, so as far as the Atlantic, here are the remnants of Invest 95L. It has moved overland and is not going to develop. This is what was an area of disturbance out here. It is not expected to develop. We do have disturbances off the coast of Africa that are expected to head in this way, so we'll definitely keep an eye on that for you guys. But for now, that's about all I have for you. Before I end this video, I'll give you a quick look on these storms out here. These storms are producing damaging winds for certain, along with the chance of seeing some isolated hail, penny to nickel size likely. Damaging winds are going to be your main threat. And if you are, by the time this video is uploaded, the storms will probably be somewhere in this area. Actually, hold on. In this area. If you live in those areas that I just circled, or farther either to the north or to the south, is where these storms are going to cover. Be prepared for isolated hail, damaging winds, or possibly even a spin-up tornado. These tornadoes can spin up very fast, so if a tornado warning comes in, recommend you get to shelter. But keep an eye on the weather today, tomorrow, any day, honestly, because we're getting into a bit of another active pattern. It's going to be hot. There are going to be some disturbances out there in the Atlantic. I'll keep an eye on it for you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.